Hello, everyone, and welcome to my online talk for the AAA's Transition Conference. My name is Emma Fabrega. I hold a PhD in anthropology and am a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Barcelona. Following the conference's theme, in this presentation, I will speak about the utility of analyzing old age and aging experiences in the framework of transitions, in-betweenness, and liminality. This will be achieved through ethnographic vignettes from my own doctoral dissertation in conjunction with concepts from EXIT, which is a Horizon 20 European-funded project, which explores the concept of left behind in relation to spatial inequalities. I must preface that this talk is the beginning of connecting both projects, meaning that there's still much work to be done regarding the use of left behind in the context of liminality and retirement migration in Spain. So the talk will be structured in the following way. First, I will give a quick overview of the methods used to collect data. Then I will move on to the broader theoretical framework that underpins the presentation, followed by ethnographic vignettes that will illustrate the theory exposed. These are followed by reflections that analyze the data presented, leading to the end of this talk. The methods employed to collect the data presented were entirely ethnographic and can be viewed on the slides shown now on screen. As we see, I did participant observation in Costa del Sol and Costa Brava, 49 in-depth interviews of British retirees between the ages of 57 to 101, 7 interviews with service providers, and 4 focus groups. These methods were conducted on 2 different coasts, the Costa del Sol and the Costa Brava. These were chosen because of their locations on opposing ends of the Mediterranean coastline, as we can see on the map shown now on screen, and the different relationships that these coasts have with British migration, while both still being prominent touristic destinations. I must also mention that these coasts are constructed as holiday destinations in British social imaginary. In this construction, a notion of Spain as being underdeveloped or left behind from the rest of Europe was included. This is worth noting because the concept of left behind will appear later on in several different contexts throughout this talk. In both these coasts, several ethnographic sites were visited regularly to represent the wide socioeconomic spectrum of British retiree communities in Spain. In total, these methods guaranteed a wider view of the later life migration phenomena in Spain, while also nuancing the general understanding of it. Before diving into the details of the realities of British retirees aging in Spain, I want to represent the theoretical framework that underpins this presentation, starting with the key concept of transitions, liminality, and in-betweenness. As many of you know, the concept of liminality was first made famous by Arnold van Gennep, I never know if I say that name right, and then by Victor Turner as they explored rites of passage. Liminality is the experience of being between categories that are fixed by culture, law, convention, or ceremony. Therefore, it refers to being in a position that transgresses these categories while also reaffirming them. Therefore, liminality is the lived experience of tensions between fixed categories and fluid day-to-day life. Ultimately, these experiences that are neither here nor there challenge societal structures by creating a temporary sense of uncertainty that opens an opportunity for that society to evaluate itself and reflect on its existing structures, social discourses, and imaginaries. It is in these moments of societal murkiness and relativity where, as anthropologists, we can decipher a lot about the societies we're studying. That is why approaching aging in Western societies through the lens of liminality offers this great possibility of reflecting on all these structures, social discourses, and imaginaries that really shape aging experiences. To use liminality and in-betweenness to comprehend said experiences is crucial to understand the broader concepts in which these experiences unfold. So I will now explain a little bit what the context is in Western societies of old age. First, longevity is reshaping Western demographics, enshrining retirement into the welfare state. Then, due to capitalist influences, a new market for retirees seeking a lifestyle free from work and family constraints has opened up, solidifying retirement as a moment of reaping life's rewards. Consequently, old age has evolved into this complex and fluid concept, challenged by ageist social views that prioritize independence over vulnerability, dependency, and fragility. This is evident in prevalent global north discourses, such as the successful aging paradigm, which is also known as healthy aging, active aging, or productive aging, which suggests that with the right lifestyle choices like exercise and healthy eating, Old age can be postponed. These narratives ultimately perpetuate stereotypes while also neglecting the importance of acknowledging dependency and vulnerability, leading to a new categorization of aging where early later life is celebrated and later stages marked by illness and death are undervalued. That is what Gilliard and Higgs are referring to when they speak of the third age and the fourth age. These categories, which stem from gerontology, have moved into the mainstream, generating other iterations of them, like the young old versus the old, for example, or old age versus advanced old age. What these categorizations and discourses confirm is that being an able-bodied adult in good health and being active in the productive economy is the norm in Western societies. If this norm isn't met, one is essentially being quote unquote left behind by society. This concept has mostly been used to describe spatial inequalities, but the feeling of being unaccounted for by society is akin to that of the regions that are often described as left behind. That is why the term has been used in several contexts to describe aging experiences across the globe as well, and I use it here too. When Gilliard and Higgs delve into these later life classifications and their norms, they contend that the concept of the fourth age and its various interpretations transcends being a mere life stage. It evolves into a cultural landscape. This is particularly notable because those who align themselves with the third age actively resist the notion of the fourth age. Several ethnographies have captured this rejection of the fourth age and fear of being left behind. For example, see Catherine Degnen's work in the United Kingdom or Sarah Lamb's in the United States. What we see in these ethnographies is that old age classifications and discourses do not fit the reality of fluid aging experiences. In other words, there is a tension between diachronic processual aging experiences and old age synchronic classifications and social discourses. This results in later life aging experiences where people are continuously fighting off the fourth age while attempting to maintain themselves in the third, resulting in an experience of being neither here nor there, neither independent nor dependent. It is here where the use of liminality as a heuristic device becomes useful to understand aging experiences in Western societies. So retirement migration as a later life migration trend captures very well this tension that we've been speaking about between independence and vulnerability in later life. Despite being a privileged lifestyle migration trend that requires migrants to have sufficient disposable income as well as geopolitical privilege that facilitates their mobility, retirement migration serves as an example of how old age categories and discussions have turned into lifestyle choices. Furthermore, the lived experience of retirement migration vividly highlights the challenges that arise when aging in Western societies with the intersecting reality of migration, creating a nexus of potential vulnerability that highlights that tension even further. So that is what I observed in the experiences of British retirees living on Spanish coasts throughout 2019 to 2020. Before getting into the details of the case study, I would like to describe the pictures on screen. These are two pictures, one from the Costa del Sol and the other from the Costa Brava. I've chosen these pictures to give an idea of the type of things that British retirees would do while being in Spain. The first picture shows a group of people in a terrace drinking some wine overlooking the sea, and that was in a British social club. And then the second picture, we see people playing petanque, which is a very famous game between older people in Spain and in the UK as well. We see that the weather is quite different in one place and the other because since Costa Brava is further north, it is a bit chillier, and then in Costa del Sol is a lot warmer. However, there is a general theme to both of these pictures, which is that they are pursuing things that they want to be doing with their lives, which is this idea of aging better. This concept of aging better was something that I heard a lot in fieldwork and was influenced by things like work history, gender, and socioeconomic status that really made a different idea for each, really meant a different thing for each person. However, generally, this idea of aging better was this idea that by migrating to Spain, they would delay the negative effects of aging and offer more control over their lives without work or family constraints. Additionally, these Spanish coastal areas, which we see in these photographs, were seen as providing unique lifestyle opportunities not easily accessible in the UK. Spain was regarded as both a holiday destination and also as a left-behind region, particularly this southern Spain, which is Costa del Sol. The lower cost, excuse me, of living and warmer climate enabled British retirees to enjoy activities such as dining out, beach walks, golfing, and sailing more frequently and at more affordable prices. At the core of the retirement migration plans observed among British retirees in the field was just this belief that Spain afforded them the opportunity to leverage their geopolitical privilege, thereby enhancing their aging experiences and delaying the onset of vulnerability and dependence. So in other words, as one participant put it, and as we see in the quote on screen, she said, "I don't think you age half as good in England as you do over here in Spain." This was said by Rose, a 70-year-old woman living in Costa del Sol. However, a pertinent question arises that we still haven't addressed. What happens when vulnerability and dependence inevitably manifests itself in their later lives? This question sets the stage for our exploration of the ethnographic vignettes that follow. Within these examples, we will witness various instances of dependence, shedding light on the intricate dynamics of aging experiences among British retirees in Spain. The following vignette is taken from my field diary in Costa del Sol. In it, we see Christine, a woman in her late 80s, who was enjoying some coffee and biscuits at a charity's weekly coffee morning. Between coffees and chit-chat, the following happened. The quote says, "During our talk, there was a moment in which Christine, in her late 80s, could not properly open her water bottle, so I opened it for her. This prompted her to comment on how before she used to be the one helping open people's bottles or jars. How the times have changed," she said. She called it a quote-unquote reality check of how her life is different now and how she is aging. She took it as a funny thing that just happens in life, while others around her started to act very awkwardly, trying to instantly cheer her up. In this quote, Christine expresses how she feels her body physically changing due to age. I must stress that her comments were said between laughs, with no grave tone implied. However, towards the end of the conversation, the tone shifts when others around her, who were going through similar aging experiences as her, attempted to cheer her up by saying things like, "You're still so young," or "Don't say things like that." This vignette is important because it highlights two key aspects. First, Christine experiences what I refer to in my dissertation as a moment of recognition of oldness. These moments of recognition of oldness are a common occurrence where someone approaching the fourth age becomes acutely aware of their aging condition. This recognition, akin to Beach's concept of recognition, marks the beginning of a transition and prompts a reframing of one's identity. Second, the reactions of those around Christine are significant. They unintentionally negate Christine's aging experience by attempting to cheer her up. This behavior aligns with what Sarah Lamb calls age-defying discursive labor, which refers to the societal etiquette in Western cultures that encourages people to deny their aging as a matter of politeness. It illustrates the social pressure not to age, making people uncomfortable when others express or acknowledge their own old age. These types of exchanges were quite common during fieldwork, underscoring the prevalent rejection of the fourth age that occurs in these communities and Western societies. However, the question arises, how can individuals like Christine come to terms with their aging experiences when their expressions of them are met with these contradictory remarks? This constant back and forth between personal experiences and societal responses really prolongs the transition process, making it an ongoing negotiation between the self and society. The second vignette exemplifies how individuals' expectations and plans for their own aging, shaped by societal categories and discourses, often diverge from the realities of aging, affecting how said realities are then coped with. This is exemplified by the case of Monica, an 80-year-old woman recovering from knee surgery while residing in Costa del Sol for over 2 decades with her husband. Their social life centered around a British social club. Actually, it's the one that we saw in the picture a couple slides back, that was situated in a villa that was overlooking the sea. Unfortunately, this venue was not easily accessible for individuals with limited mobility. The villa's architectural design necessitated a separate entrance for those with mobility constraints, which deterred Monica from attending club events for over 2 months, as she wished to avoid being quote unquote gawked at by others, as we see in the quote shown on screen. When asked about her absence, Monica cited previous engagements, a reason her husband also used when attending events without her. After a month of this behavior, her husband too began missing events to justify Monica's absence. Consequently, the couple isolated themselves from their own community due to a fear of being perceived as vulnerable, dependent, and ultimately old. This situation created a stress and frustration between them, leading to frequent arguments about Monica's decision not to attend club events. In essence, Monica's attempts to evade the categorization of old or left behind, quote unquote, led to behaviors that increased her vulnerability and undermined the aging better plan that they had envisioned for their later years in Spain. Monica's case underscores the significant gap between the ongoing aging experiences and the reality of them and the static societal classifications of old age. It also highlights how detrimental this misalignment can be, resulting in stress, frustration, and social isolation or alienation. Fortunately, after a little over 2 months, Monica's improved mobility due to physical therapy, which really restored her physical and emotional strength, allowing her to return to the club. This ended their alienation and frustration. However, what's very important to note here is that the existence of such behaviors poses potential dangers to the well-being of British retirees. Alienation, frustration, and stress can exacerbate vulnerable situations, especially given that these situations occur in a foreign country perceived as quote unquote left behind, where retirees may not fully understand the welfare system, the local language, or even have robust support networks to navigate challenging circumstances. In both ethnographic vignettes, we have observed how uncertainty appears within people's daily aging experiences when faced with the quote-unquote threat of being perceived as vulnerable and dependent, and thus being seen as left behind or old. This sense of uncertainty stems from activities that one can no longer do, and then these being judged in the context of Western old age discourses and categories that devalue dependence and vulnerability associated to the fourth age. Furthermore, uncertainty is a key aspect of liminality and transitions. This means that a space is generated by later life experiences in which there is a constant negotiation between the self and society. In Christine's case, we see how her own interpretation of her aging experience is contested by others, resulting in said negotiation. Then, in Monica's case, we see how this negotiation is feared, resulting in practices that are detrimental to her own aging better goal. That all British retirees in Spain share. Consequently, these sorts of experiences solidify the state of liminality in which aging experiences of British retirees find themselves, reinforcing the tension between the valorized third age and the devalued fourth age. This ambiguousness is what characterizes liminality and transitions, meaning that many British retirees living in Spain constantly find themselves in a state of liminality and transition due to the way in which old age categories and discourses are applied to living experiences. As several academics have asserted, being in a state of liminality for too long has its psychological side effects, especially regarding identity formation. This makes evident that aging in Western societies is not an easy task. Even British retiree migrants who put at the heart of their later life plans the dogmas of the successful aging paradigm and the categories that uphold it suffer these effects. However, this also raises a broader and very important question worth pondering, which is, what about individuals who lack the means to conform to the ideals and values upheld by Western societies regarding aging? This is a very thought-provoking question that warrants further exploration and consideration in our understanding of what growing old is like in Western societies, and is one that I explore in my own dissertation. In conclusion, the experiences of British retirees living in Spain serve as a poignant illustration of the interplay between desire, contradiction, and uncertainty that characterizes aging in Western societies. By embracing the concept of liminality, we gain a powerful analytical framework that allows us to unravel the multifaceted web of self-identity, societal expectations, and biological aging that often results in paradoxical and disconcerting aging experiences. Furthermore, through the lens of liminality, we illuminate the inherent ambiguity of these experiences. The intersection of aging and migration places these retirees in a unique liminal space, showcasing how old age is marked by the elongation of later life stages and the very nature of transition itself. It is crucial to acknowledge that transitions in old age are often very hazy and indistinct, as the concept of the fourth age creates a cultural landscape where traditional markers of transition may not apply. This constant battle of moving from one state to another, even when there is no defined destination, underscores the complexity of aging. As I conclude this talk, I'd like to highlight some avenues for future research that have emerged as particularly regarding the intersection of my own research and the concept of left behind. Throughout this talk, there has been several mentions of left behind peppered throughout the talk. And we've seen how this concept can be applied to both aging experiences and spatial inequalities. The next phase of inquiry involves delving deeper into the convergence of the uses of these terms. Specifically, we should investigate how the fear of aging and the apprehension of being left behind as one approaches the fourth age manifests within spaces that are themselves considered left behind. And it is very interesting just to see how would this parallelism work in practice. These questions represent just a glimpse of the possibilities that could propel future research, seeking to bridge the gap between these domains. It is also very important that we still maintain the idea of liminality and transitions as this powerful heuristic device, because it really helps us gain a profound insight into this complex terrain of what aging is like in Western societies. Thank you very much for your attention and your time. If you're interested in gaining more information on either my doctoral thesis or the exit project, please click on the links below. Thanks again, and also thanks to the AAA for this opportunity to do this presentation and share this with you. Here is my bibliography. Please feel free to stop and look at it for a while, and thank you again.